Hello, you sentient ball of stardust. My name is Casey Davis. I'm a therapist and I'm an author of the book How to Keep House While Drowning, where I talk about ways to make it a little bit easier to take care of yourself when you're overwhelmed, stressed, have mental health issues, physical health issues, or maybe you're just in a hard season of life. Maybe you're looking for a place that you can come and listen to some practical advice. This is a podcast for all of the self-help rejects. We're going to talk about skills for survival and self-kindness. And I'm going to leave the pop psychology at the door. I promise not to tell you to meditate or to journal. We're just going to give you some really insightful conversations with hopefully some practical advice. So I don't believe you need to pick yourself up by the bootstraps. I don't want you to just try harder, and I don't believe that laziness exists. So join me over on Struggle Care, where we can find compassionate solutions that help us function a little bit better.
New on Curiosity Stream.
I'm James Burke. I'm going to take you on a journey through time.
James Burke's visionary series returns, reimagined for our time.
Now, this is all uncharted territory.
The Washington Post hails Burke as one of the most intriguing minds in the Western world. The New York Times raves he careens from one great moment in history to another.
Where do we want to go from here?
Experience all new Connections.
So what's the next connection?
With monthly, annual, and bundled plans, find the one that works for you at curiositystream.com.
Stoveleg Media, igniting conversation.
Hey guys, how's it going? You're listening to another episode of I've Been Thinking with Elena Grace, and today we have a special guest, Sam Hwang. Say hi.
Hi everyone, my name's Sam.
She is joining us from California, and I'm just really excited. We're going to talk about just a bunch of different stuff today. We're just going to kind of vibe it out and see where we go. But Sam, go ahead and introduce yourself for everybody. Like, tell us your story, about your business that you've built. Just like, tell us how you got to where you are now.
Okay, well, it's kind of a long story. I'll start out with, my name is Sam. I'm 23 years old, based in Orange County, California. I've grown up here, moved around a bit. I mean, I relate to you because I come from not a military family, but my dad did work for the government and he worked closely with the military. So we moved around quite a bit when I was younger. And so I want to say, like, my career kind of stemmed from loneliness. I know it's kind of dark and sad, but do you remember Tumblr?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, so that's kind of where it started. I had a following back then on Tumblr, and
Ooh.
I started that, I believe when I was in seventh grade, because I made a big move in seventh grade, and it was hard for me to make friends, so I resorted to making friends on the internet, and my mom warned me against it. But honestly, I found such a great niche back then, and I did a lot of like surf style photography because I was obsessed with, Southern California culture and like Laguna Beach and, surfing and all of those like fun surf brands like O'Neill and, Volcom. And that was kind of my niche. And I found people within that, like at a very young age. And I started more so in the photography space. And so once Instagram came out in 8th grade, I remember using it as an editing app for Tumblr. Yeah, and I'll have to dig up some of my old photos, but back then, I was kind of like, Instagram was just a fun little app to edit, and I posted like mirror selfies, like flat lays back then, with the like cringy filters, and the frames that were built into the app. And then fast forward, I kept up with that, throughout high school. I would force my friends to, hang out with me so I could take pictures of them and they could take pictures of me on the weekends. And my parents were like, what the heck are you doing? Like, you need to focus on school. They had no idea what I was doing back then.
Right.
And they had a family camera. So it was this Nikon D5600, like, one of those Costco grade cameras.
Yeah.
And so I would, steal it every weekend. My mom would literally be like, no, like that's an expensive camera. You can't take it. And so, I was a rebel back then, and I tell her now, if I didn't do that, I wouldn't have the career I have now. So,
Yeah, that's so
you
true.
got to go against, back then I went against like what people were telling me, like, okay, like that's weird. Like, why are you taking so many photos? Why are you posting like you're a like quote unquote model, or like what are you doing?
Yeah.
But back then I like literally did not care. I was so into like editorial type of photos and surf, like I said. And then when I was 16, I actually got a job at Brandy Melville, and it's a kind of a funny story because I fell into that. I wasn't really looking to work, but my phone actually got stolen at my Sweet 16 birthday party.
Oh my God.
And so, yeah, so it kind of all fell into like, this is why I'm such a huge believer in taking every opportunity that comes your way, because Brandy Melville was opening up near me, and it was this huge new brand. I don't know if you remember when it like boomed back then. And I landed a job there, and I, stuck my nose in every crevice and was like, hey, like, how can I help out with photography? I know you guys are using Instagram to, like, back then we didn't know it was marketing. Back then we were just like, they're just fun photos.
Right.
And I wanted to be in on that. And so I would help out with them. I mean, unpaid back then, but still an opportunity. And I got some of my first big breaks back then. They would repost me, and I would get, like, back then, if you had a brand repost you, it would be enormous. Like,
yeah,
I remember looking at my phone. Yeah, I remember looking at my phone at work, and I was freaking out because I was getting 2,000, 3,000 followers within like an hour. And it was just insane. And the opportunities that stemmed from that, because I worked for them for 2 years, were just amazing. It kind of snowballed from there. Once I graduated, I moved on to working for Nordstrom, took a year off for school, kind of felt like school was really not for me during the time, and I was in a major that wasn't like my niche. I was going to school for economics. And so halfway through school, I reached a point where I was very miserable, very unhappy with what I was doing because I wasn't being creative. I gave up, being a blogger. I gave up kind of like my creative side. And so I sat down with my parents and I was like, hey, like, I know you want me to pursue economics, but like, I'm just like unhappy. And so they were like, okay, you could either drop out of school and see where this goes, or you can follow through school and just change your major. So I ended up changing my major to PR and digital comm. So even through that, I liked it, but I was never really a school person. And it's kind of funny because I really don't encourage people, if they, already find their niche or their career early on, to, pursue school if that's what they want to do. Especially in the creative space. You don't really need a college degree for that. But I followed through with it, graduated within the 4 years, and my third year into it, that's when I really put my head down and wrote out a strategy on how I would make this my full-time job by the time I graduated, so that it would be sustainable and I would never have to work a PR job. Because I remember interning once at a PR firm in LA, and I interned there one day, and it was like the Devil Wears Prada. It was everyone was so like tense. The boss was mean, and like I just knew from then on it wasn't for me, and I had to, make it work with my career. And so by the time I was a graduating senior, I actually was making a decent living, and it was cool because my last semester I was going to Coachella, but also studying for finals on the way back, and it was kind of like I was living this double life, and I was grateful. I'm pretty grateful because my professors worked with me throughout that, and they understood that I was already in my career, and that that's what I wanted to do. So they were able to work with my schedule, which was great.
That's really awesome.
Yeah,
love,
I know. Sorry, that's a
oh my
long
gosh, no.
intro, but
No, I'm grateful for all of that, because like, as you were speaking, there were so many moments that I had where I was like, man, I wish, my philosophy is no regrets. Like, I live my life absolutely no regrets. It's either a lesson learned or it's a funny story, basically, you know.
totally.
And there, especially lately, as I realized that, like, the path that I took in my education and just in life, like, I was taking the kind of smart path in a lot of ways, like the one that people told me, oh, you'll definitely have a job in this. This is a safe career choice, you know, blah, blah, blah. I did do that in a lot of ways, and it still didn't work out for me, because it wasn't meant for me. And what I should have done, and what part of me wishes I had done, was to challenge myself to do the creative things that I wanted to be doing, to, you know, maybe change my major, or to not continue with the master's degree that isn't serving me now, or, you know, all of those things. Like, I wish that I wish a little bit that I had done things more the way you did, because I think that's really awesome that you took the chance and you said, no, this is what I want to do, this is where I want to be, I'm going to focus on it. And it's really worked out for you.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, I got made fun of when I first did it, especially in high, you know, as you can imagine, kids in
Yeah.
high school, you know, sometimes they can be mean. So when they found out what I was doing, they're like, what are you doing posting ads? Like, what is that? Like, why are you using your Instagram to do that? And I got made fun of for it. But, you know, I'm the kind of person that, I think that's why I wasn't really built for school.
Right.
And even jobs, I don't like listening to people. Not in that
either.
sense, but I don't like reporting to a boss. And I've always been that way. I've always, you know, beat to my own drum. You know, I literally like to just do my own thing, and I don't like to listen to what other people tell me to do. So that's kind of like how it's been. And I used to clash heads with my parents all the time too. Like,
Yeah.
back then, you know, them trying to guide, like, I mean, I appreciate them guiding me,
Right.
you know, raising me, but I literally was such a little rebel back then. Like, I did not want to listen to anybody.
So it's so funny because I mean, like I said, I relate to so much you've said, but I tried for so long. And you're 23, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I am 25, about to turn 26 this summer. And I just feel honestly like there's a little bit of, like, not a huge difference, but I do feel like there's a little bit of a difference in ages, even just like those few years, where when I was in school, you, like, and maybe it was just where I was, I don't know, but when I was in high school, you fit in or you were gonna be murdered. Like, that was how it felt, you know? And I love that you took, like you just said, I don't care what you think, I'm gonna do what I want to do. Because I remember I came to school one day, it was like my junior year maybe of high school, and I was wearing this outfit that I was like, and looking back, it was not a good outfit. I kind of don't blame people for making fun of me a little bit for it, but in the moment I was like, I love this, because it was like edgy and it was entirely different from the preppy person that I always tried to be, because that's what my friends were and I was trying to fit in with them. But this was like an edgy outfit, and I got made fun of so much for it, and I was like, okay, well, I'm never gonna do that again. I'm never gonna, like, push the envelope again, you know. And that's kind of how I took it in that moment. And I am so, like, proud of you, and I wish I had been a little bit more like you, where it was like, well, I'm going to keep pushing the envelope. I'm going to find my niche, you know?
Right.
Because I think that would have been really helpful to me, having a more satisfying journey up until this point. But I'm not like saying I don't like my journey, because it's brought me, like, if I hadn't made some of the decisions that I made, like, I wouldn't have my boyfriend who am madly in love with. I wouldn't have my puppy that is the light of my life, you know, like, it brought me all of these things, and I'm grateful for it, and I'm grateful for what I've learned. But I think that people should be encouraged to push the envelope, to not care what other people think, to rebel even against their parents, because I didn't learn to do that until I was like 21. And then my parents were like, oh no, she is rebelling, like, oh, we can't tell her what to do anymore. But now they're just like, whatever, do whatever you want.
Right. I mean, my parents are the same now. They see, like, you know, how I've built it into a whole career, and like I have a lot of things going on, and now they're like, okay, well, we see that you're able to like sustain your own living.
Right.
And they definitely understand now. But I mean, if you look at every successful person in history, it's like a lot of them don't get any support in the early days. Mm-hmm. And I kind of, you know, studied that when I was younger, and was like, hey, it's going to be really hard now. We're going to struggle right now. But you know what, like, if this is what you want to do, and I felt like there's nothing else that'll make me happier long term and in my career. Like, I knew for a fact I never wanted to work for a person. And from a young age, I've always had this business mindset of, you know, owning my own business or doing my own thing. And I just knew, like, hey, like, we're going to struggle. It's not going to be easy, but also, like, other people have done this. So you will make it through, you know?
That's honestly really an awesome mindset to have. Did you just like study people? Like, did you just realize that from just like learning about people in general, or did you have something that kind of inspired you to come to that realization? Or like, I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So, I mean, I would say my dad was more supportive than my mom growing up. I mean, my mom is very supportive now, but she comes from, you know, she's an immigrant. So she has that mindset of, like, you need to secure a stable job so that way, you know, you can provide for your family. And that totally makes sense, you know, like, I understand that. And my career choice and my industry scares her because it lacks a lot of stability, especially long term. But you know, that never bothered me. And so my dad, I mean, he had a different mindset growing up, so he would kind of encourage me of that mindset, but also was like, you know, hey, like, if you want to go to school, then you probably should. If you're not ready to start your business, then, you know, you shouldn't go for it. But he was the one that actually encouraged me, because he saw my potential end of high school, because I was starting to go to events and starting to work with brands at the age of like 17, 18.
That's so awesome.
But also I was very immature back then. So I like, didn't know how to, you know, maintain proper relationships with brands. I didn't know that, you know, deadlines were very important, and, you know, contracts are important, and those kind of things. Like, I just didn't know. And also nobody knew back then about like,
nobody knew.
Yeah. So, but my dad saw that potential, and he was like, hey, he sat me down before I was going to accept going to college. I went to Cal State Fullerton, and he was like, you know, college is not cheap. So if you are not, you know, if you're half and half about this, then you should maybe reconsider or take a year off. But I felt so pressured from my mom. My friends were all going away to college. And it was kind of just like a social norm. And I feel like nowadays, I mean, it's only been 5 years later, but I think nowadays it's more acceptable to go that route. And back then he was like, you know, you could either go to college, or I can give you that tuition money to start your own business. And I mean, it's kind of a regret, but at this point I was like, you know what? College taught me maturity.
Oh, for sure.
I don't think I would have been able to bring a whole business to life back then at like 18.
Yeah. No, that's awesome that you realize that it had that really important role in your journey, even if it wasn't like a necessity for your education. You know what I'm saying? Like for you to
Totally.
get a job. And I think that's really cool that your dad was so supportive. I think that a lot of parents, and not in any way am I like shitting on your mom, because I totally get it. My parents were very much the same way, where they're like, this is the norm. We want you to go to college and, you know, get your degree because you have to have that. But I love that your dad was kind of ahead of his time in realizing that you don't have to have a degree to be successful. That's really
Totally.
cool.
Yeah, no, my dad's like the coolest person. He loves to keep up with the times. Like, you know, he loves his favorite YouTubers, and he's really like into, you know, the media and like even social media and keeping up
That's
with
so funny.
pop
I love
culture.
that.
Yeah, he's really, I feel like he's so ahead of his time. And it's great because like I mean, I can attribute a lot of what I've learned business wise from him. And I think it comes from, you know, he worked a 9-to-5 job. He worked corporate America, and same with my mom. And like, I remember my mom telling me like she always loved fashion. Like I was looking at old photos the other day, and she, you know, was basically a mirror image of me like now, but back then. And like, yeah, she's so like cute, and she loved taking photos back then. And my dad, you know, he grew up as a photographer, so I came from a line of photographers. My grandpa also loved photography, and I actually have some of his old cameras now, so I feel, you know, honored to be using his film cameras. But you know, they didn't have the choice back then to pursue that, because they didn't have, you know, social media. They didn't have if you were a photographer back then, it meant like you weren't going to live a stable life, and you weren't going to make a living for your family. And you know, it was a hard life. It's like, you know, the term starving artist basically. Whereas now, like, it's a lot easier for brands to blow up on TikTok and, you know, get millions of orders. And, you know, it's a lot easier to obtain that. I mean, not saying it's easier as a job, but
Oh, for sure.
just to, you know, have this type of job is like, a lot of people see it as more stable, or like,
Yeah,
you
and
can
it's
make a living from it now.
It's a more attainable job now. Like you said, it's not that it's easy, but like, I have a friend from college who he and a bunch of people got together basically and said, you know what, we want to be creatives. We love photography. We love cool editing, you know, all that stuff. And they got together and they started a business. And you couldn't have done that the same way 20 years ago, or even like 10 years ago, because their business is very reliant on social media and using that as their advertising. So I think, yeah, you're absolutely right. It's more something that you can do now without having to have also like thousands and thousands of dollars of like startup money and stuff like that.
Oh, totally. Yeah. No, it's so cool because in the last year, I mean, obviously with COVID and everything, you've seen people on TikTok absolutely blow up. And it's like young kids too, like people that are like 18, 19 that have, you know, their Etsy businesses or whatever, you know, it's like they make things at home and they absolutely blow up without, you know, having an office or like really any startup money. And that's so amazing to me. And like, it really makes me so excited for this next generation.
Yeah, it does me too. And I think it's really cool that we're able, first of all, obviously the face of advertising is completely changing because we have like influencers now and all of that stuff. And that's entirely different than having, billboards and that kind of, and magazine ads and stuff like that, and relying entirely on that. But the young kids, I sound like an old person, but the new generation of Gen Zs and like everyone who comes after them, They have this awesome opportunity that they're growing up with and learning with as it grows to just like connect and learn and like do all of these things on a level that we probably could not have fathomed when we were their age, because it's just a thing with them. And then here we were at the beginning of Instagram thinking it was a photo editing app, you know, and thinking, well, that was all it was. Right. And then now we see, like, I mean, like you did, people blowing up on Instagram and getting opportunities through Instagram and getting paid from Instagram, and kids blowing up on TikTok, like you said, all of that. It's just this entirely different thing. And for us, it's so cool to watch. For our parents, it's probably like, what the hell's going on? But
and then for our grandparents,
yeah, they're like, we don't even know what you're talking about. I honestly don't think I have told my 86-year-old grandmother very much about my podcast at all, because I know that she will not get it. Not that she's stupid, but it's just something, like, she just got a Facebook last year for Mother's Day. That was her Mother's Day present, was a tablet and a Facebook. And
well, she's advanced then. My grandma can barely use her phone. Her flip phone too.
Well, she has never had a cell phone, so we got her a tablet that she can. It's like the Kindle Fire, I think is what it is. So she literally just gets on Facebook with it, and every once in a while she calls, and she's like, she calls my aunt who like lives right next door to her, and she's like, I need you to come over here. There's naked people on because she like accidentally clicks on an ad, like a clickbait ad or something, and it goes somewhere.
Oh, no.
And she doesn't know how to get out of it. But anyway, she like, I know that she can't fathom what a podcast is, you know. So I'm just like, I have this thing I do. But yeah, it's just really cool to see how it's all changing, and I guess how we're changing with it. You know?
Totally. Yeah.
And
I mean, go ahead.
Sorry. You have, like, your really cool, like, Where is Sam blog, and, like, your business that's come from that, too, that I think is just, it's really interesting. And you have awesome partnerships. Like, you just partnered with Kate Spade the other day, and, or this week, I think, and like, that's just so cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty amazing. I mean, today I'm actually shooting for Nike, so that's been...
Oh, yeah, like, you posted about that.
I mean, that's been, like, it's weird. It's, like, it feels like a full circle moment, and also, like, you get a little bit of imposter syndrome. Because I don't know, it just feels weird, because back then, when I used to pitch to brands, after school, when I was in high school... after school, I would pitch to these brands. I would spend probably an hour every day sending 40 emails, and most of them would be like, what the heck are you talking about?
Yeah.
Or like, they'd be like, what do you want? You know, that kind of thing. Because like, nobody knew, like, you had to gift influencers, and it was just, I got shut down a lot. And I remember like being like, okay, like, no one's taking me seriously. Like, I know, like, back then I would just ask for product in exchange to shoot it. And a lot of people were like, no, like, absolutely not. Like, hey, who are you? Like, what are you doing? Like, what's, like, why are you going to post on Instagram? And back then it was just like, okay, like, it's not a thing yet. So now just seeing how, like, brands like Nike, and like, I've done work for Target, like, where I had to make a TikTok for their social channels. It just feels so weird almost. Yeah. Like, it's just like, it's hard to accept, because it's changed so fast over the last like 5 years.
It has.
Know? And it's just accelerated so much, and it's great to see that brands like, you know, Nike can recognize like smaller influencers and see the power that they have, and like the kind of, you know, photos they can create too.
Yeah, your photos are incredible. And that,
thank you.
I think it's so cool. I actually meant to say this earlier and I got distracted, but I think it's so cool that you come from a line of photographers, that your mom was so into fashion, and you're able to make like who they are and were come to fruition in a really cool way. You know, you're able to maybe in some ways like fulfill their dreams that they had that they couldn't act on because it just wasn't like the time.
Yeah, you know what's so funny is that I almost feel like, you know, like pageant parents,
Yes.
how they, you know, kind of live vicariously through their kids, and even like Kris Jenner, you know, like the whole like you're doing great, sweetie. Like that's kind of how my parents are, and like I love them to death now. And my mom, she's always, I mean, she gets to reap some of the benefits too. I'll send her, you know, clothes that like I don't wear anymore, or even she loves the beauty products.
Oh, yeah.
I'll send her like a little like box, since, you know, they live in Texas now. But my mom will like live through me now. Like she'll be like, actually, like, did you like their beauty products? And she's all into Glossier now. And
oh, that's so cute.
No, it's funny because she's really into beauty. So sometimes I actually learn a lot from her. And you know that brand, The Ordinary?
Oh, I love them.
Okay, so I found out through my mom, and I didn't hear about it from anyone before. And I remember this was like 4 years ago, and I struggled with acne back then. And my mom found out about this brand, and I was like, I literally, like, they gift me stuff now, and I'm like, I have to attribute this to my mom, because she was the one who showed me, like, she like did all this research back then, and they were this weird indie brand, and I was like, what the heck are you buying, Mom? Like, this is coming from Canada, and like, you know, back then like clean beauty was just starting. Yeah, and it was kind of weird. And my mom is like she's just, you know, really good at like finding those things, and I feel like that's how I got some of my skill back then, because
for sure,
you know, she wouldn't really like give me money to buy clothes back then, so I had to be really creative with, you know, coming up with my outfits when I was younger, and just doing a lot of that. And even with my dad, he helped me so much when he found out I was taking the camera, by the way, back then in high school. He was like, okay, like, they gave it, I forgot which birthday it was, but one birthday they finally gave that camera to me, and he was like, okay, like, if you're going to get serious, then you should get more serious equipment. You can't just be using this Costco camera, you know?
Yeah.
And he has helped me so much in researching cameras, and he'll send me YouTube videos like weekly, like have you heard of this lens, and like this camera, and this guy like talks about, you know, this like portrait lens. And I've learned a lot from him, and it's not just from, you know, photography classes. So it's cool to see that like I've learned so much from my parents, and that's kind of shaped me who I am today.
Isn't it funny how our parents kind of like unintentionally shape us in a lot of ways?
Yeah.
Because like I remember my mom is also like, she cares very much about how she dresses, and she cares very much about like beauty products and stuff like that. And so probably like a lot like your mom in some ways. But I remember in high school, I went through this phase where I wanted to like be kind of minimal in my outfits, I guess. And I would wear like jeans and a pair of slip-on shoes, like boat shoes or whatever, because that was the thing back then, and like a gray t-shirt, and that was it. And I was like, this is the look. And my mom was like, Elena, I was best dressed in high school. I think that you have the ability to like dress a little bit nicer than that. And at the time it was really upsetting, because I was like,
it's called tough love.
Yeah, I was like, this is who I want to be, Mom. But now I'm like, you know, it is just like, she was right in a lot of ways. It is just as easy to put together a look as it is to just throw something on sometimes. And I would rather be cute, you know, as much opportunity as I have, I would rather be cute.
Oh, totally.
And so like looking back, I was so mad in the moment, but that for sure shaped me into who I am now, you know?
Totally. And like, you think about it, I mean, in the last 13 months, I feel like I'm so sick of wearing sweatpants. Like, I will not, like, right now as I'm sitting down recording this podcast, I am wearing a puffy sleeve dress. And
I love that about you.
I'm like, like, I do not care. I'll go to Trader Joe's in the most extra outfit and get the weirdest stares, but I really do not care. And the way I think about it is like, okay, like, this is kind of a weird thought, but if you were to, you know, die, like, let's say, like, in Trader Joe's or whatever, your soul's gonna be stuck wearing that outfit for the rest of your eternal life. Like, you know, like, you want to be able to, like, like, I think about that all the time. I'm like, you know, like, in the movies when, like, someone dies, their ghost self is wearing that same outfit, and I'm like, I do not want to be seen in sweatpants as a ghost.
That's so funny. No, that's like, it's kind of what my grandmother used to tell, I guess, her kids, and then, like, my mom and aunt and stuff told me this, but you always make sure that you have on matching underwear, that, like, your bra and panties matched, because if you got in a car accident and you died, or you were in a car accident and you had to be put in an ambulance, you don't want the EMTs to see you mismatched. I kid you not. And I was always like, that is the most psycho thing I've ever heard.
That is so funny.
It's like funny, but it's kind of true.
It is true. And like, sorry, but EMTs are hot. So like, I mean, like, that's so funny to me. It's true, though.
It is
I
true.
mean, she's onto something.
She really is. And she still stands by that. 86 years old, she stands by that.
Oh, my gosh. That's so funny.
It is. But, like, those things, even those stupid things that they told us, like, I don't know, that kind of makes us into who we are now. And that's so crazy because they're not, like, trying to turn us into, I don't know, like, people who are hyper fixated on their underwear or something like that. But it really affects your lifelong philosophies in a lot of ways.
Well, I mean, I think the reasoning behind that is like, hey, like, life is short. Why not look fabulous? You know, like, why not look your best everywhere you go?
You're absolutely right. And that is probably why, until literally 2 months ago, she still went to the hairdresser every month to get her hair dyed jet black.
Self-care is a thing. I mean,
self-care
if it makes you happy, who cares? Like, I tell my mom works from home, and she, you know, misses her lashes. I'm like, get them. Like, I know no one's going to see you when you're working from home, but, like, if it makes you feel good and feel happy, life is short. Do it.
Yeah.
Like, why not, you know?
Absolutely. I kind of have taught my boyfriend that a little bit because that's just not, like, how he thought. And I'm like, listen, putting on mascara, if that makes me feel good as I bounce around the house and do literally nothing else, then I'm going to put on mascara because it makes me feel good, you know?
Yeah.
And now he just, you know? He doesn't question it anymore because he gets it now. He's like, you know what? Like, he puts on jeans sometimes when he's just sitting around the house, and he's like, this makes me feel, you know, more productive than if I was just wearing sweats sitting around on a Saturday afternoon.
Right.
And I'm like, you get it.
I was going to say, he has his own things, too.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. We all do. I think that's so funny. And we don't even realize it.
Yeah. No, totally.
Yeah. So, tell us, if you don't mind, just a little bit about your business that you, like, where is Sam? Because I don't know. I mean, probably all of my listeners, well, for sure all of my listeners, like, don't know about it, and I'd love to hear just a little bit more about it too.
Yeah, so where is Sam? When I first started, it was just my name, Sam Hwang, and I had a whole, like, rebranding crisis when I was, I think, a junior in college. That's when I was really thinking, like, hey, like, I want to make this a business, but people don't remember first and last names very well.
Yeah.
It's just hard for people to do that. So, like, coming out with a catchy name and something that was relevant to my brand is something that people remember.
Yeah.
So Where is Sam stemmed from that. It was like, because back then I really obviously loved fashion and travel. Right now it's a little different because it's like, you know, we can't really travel as much right now. But it's still, you know, still Where is Sam? Where is she going?
Yeah.
And I like, it's more so now since I'm more lifestyle based. It's like where is she going? What is she wearing? And what is she going to be doing in her life wearing that? And like, you know how like my motto in life is basically to, you know, you look fabulous anywhere you go, even in Trader Joe's. So that's how like Where is Sam kind of stemmed from. It's like, okay, like I want to be wearing whatever I want to wear, but I also want to share it and show people where I'm going and like what I'm doing and like sharing my whole entire life. And it stemmed from that. And like when I started that, it felt kind of weird, like anything else, you know, when you're first starting out.
Right.
But once I graduated, my grad cap even said, Where is Sam going next? It kind of caught on after that. And like, you know, even traveling, it's like using the Where is Sam hashtag when you travel and like, or when you're inspired. And it kind of built this whole community around it, which was really awesome. And now it's just, you know, so catchy, and I'm launching a store pretty soon too. So it's going to be Shop Where is Sam.
No way. That's really cool.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see that come to life. And I mean, that's kind of just where it stemmed from. It literally came from a branding crisis. And I feel like everything,
hilarious.
Well, everything, you know, in my career has come from either a crisis or a problem or, you know, just like a random opportunity that I took.
Yeah.
Which has been pretty cool.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's worked out for you so far.
Yeah.
I love, though, the way you said, like, where is Sam going? Like, where is she going dressed like that? But you just make it a thing to be fabulous, like you said, all the time. And I love that is pretty much your brand. Like, being the best version of yourself, the version of yourself that makes you the happiest also.
Oh, totally. No, totally. And like, it's not only like, where is she going, like physically, but like in life, like where is she going? Like what milestones is she gonna hit next? And like, I really like sharing. I'm very, very transparent compared to like some of my peers. Yeah. I feel like on social media, and I've shared literally everything. And like, even so, like, you know, I went through a breakup back in January with someone I was with for like 5 years. And so that was a huge moment. Like, where is she going to go next? Like, we've never seen Sam single because it was 5 years of my life. And I built this whole brand while I was with him. And so it was like a huge change. And a lot of people were like, okay, this is different. Like, we're not used to this version of Sam. And like, right now it's very so much around being comfortable being alone.
Yes.
Like, I took that, you know, that solo trip to Palm Springs, and that was a huge moment for me to get over my breakup, and for me to be really comfortable alone and encourage other people to, you know, it's okay to go out to dinner by yourself. I never knew that was a weird thing also. Like, I always go out to dinner by myself, but like going on a whole trip by yourself and really treating yourself. I mean, on that trip I rented out a whole Airbnb. I shot content by myself there. I went, you know, chilled by the pool, listened to music, danced around, cooked myself dinner, took myself out to my favorite restaurant. And that was so liberating to me because I was so attached to my ex, and like we did everything together. So like I showed other women, like, because for some reason this is like a breakup season too. I don't know what's going on or
too.
What's in the air, but like I've gotten so many messages from not only like friends but also like followers saying, I'm breaking up with my long-term boyfriend or fiance or whatever. And I'm like, oh my God, I hope I didn't influence you to do that. But you know, it's cool to see, like, you know, women having that strength and courage to walk away from relationships that don't serve them.
Yes.
You know, and I'm really like that. I feel like that's where, I mean, even though Where Sam's very lifestyle and like fashion and beauty based, I also love that new part that's really shown up in the last 4 months, where I'm, you know, encouraging women to really like show their true strength and like see how strong they are and independent they are, and like really embrace that, you know?
Yeah, that's really awesome that you've turned something that could have been just like a really like negative experience for you, and not only have you used that as a learning experience for yourself, which I think is really important, but you're using it to like empower other people too. That's really awesome.
Oh no, totally. And like I think it's so important too to like show other women, like no matter what age you are, younger, older, but like I also like took up new hobbies too. And I'm like, okay, like make sure you're serving yourself. Even if you are in a relationship, make sure you're serving your like your soul. Like make sure you're feeding like your creativity juices or whatever like makes you happy, because I lost a little bit of myself in that relationship towards the end. And there's so many different hobbies. Like I started DJing and I never thought that was like gonna come to fruition or anything. But that's something that I picked up like after my breakup, and I was like, you know what? Like, why not? Like,
you're
why
the
not
cutest DJ ever, by the way.
Thank you.
I love seeing like your posts where you're DJing. Those are so fun. Like I want you to DJ a party I go to.
Thank you.
No, but that's so awesome and important. I think that no matter if you're on your own or if you're in a relationship or whatever it is, that you are serving yourself. And I think a lot of people, not even like consciously, but I think a lot of people lose that. I know that I have before. And I kind of catch myself, even with the relationship that I'm in right now. I realized a while back that like I wasn't serving myself in all of the ways that have been important to me previously. So I started working on that again, and it's just really important. I love that it's becoming part of your brand, because that can impact so many people, I think.
Oh yeah, totally. And like I've even thought about, I'm like, well, I'm not really an advice column or anything like that, but I've gotten so many messages in the last few months with, asking for like dating advice, or even advice like with people that have problems in their relationships, their long-term relationships, or how to like have that conversation with their partner if they're like, not getting what they need from that relationship. And I'm like, oh, like this is kind of fun. Should I start like a dating podcast or a dating advice column? Like I kind of like this.
Yeah, maybe it should be like a situation on your blog where like you send in questions to Sam, and every week or something you answer them, or even like on your Instagram stories. That could be kind of fun.
Oh yeah. No, totally. I love doing that too, and like, helping people out with that. That's what makes me feel very fulfilled at the end of the day. Just having those really like vulnerable, important conversations.
Yeah. I think that the vulnerability that is becoming kind of more of a thing on social media is really important, because it gives us a much more realistic view of like being a human. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, totally. And like, I mean, you see that within influencers now, like, the influencers that post like Bali, or like, those really beautiful photos in the Bahamas with all the pigs around them and like the clear water. It's like, we're kind of moving away from that. And I'm grateful for that, because it's created so many unrealistic expectations for people that, don't necessarily have that. And like, growing up, I looked up to models that had that lifestyle. So why would and that like made me feel bad about myself, like why would I want to follow people that don't like encourage like me to be a better person, or like, showcase their personality in all different aspects.
Yeah.
And I like how that's, our industry is moving towards that, and like moving towards, okay, like you could have beautiful content, but also can you showcase your personality,
Absolutely. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think that you do an awesome job of showcasing your personality as part of your content, and that's really cool to see. Because I know that I've had moments where I'm like, oh, I really like this thing that this person does. I want to try to take a similar picture or whatever. And then I realize that that's not true to my personality. And it's like this awesome representation of them, but me copying it, even if it's like, even though it's in a well-intentioned way, like me trying to recreate it isn't genuine to me. So I think that you like help set that standard of like be genuine to you no matter what you're doing, which is really cool.
Right. No, totally. And like, I mean, I fell into that when, because I mean, we all have our favorite YouTubers, Instagrammers, and when I was kind of going through like a branding crisis back then, I would just kind of follow with what other people were doing. Yeah. And I think it was from Ami Song, but I heard her say one day,
I love her.
I love her too. I actually met her one time. She's great.
Oh, stop.
I love her so much. But she said something along the lines like, you know, you're never gonna, if this is like your goal, if you want to be, you know, your own like independent, you know, business owner, whatever, in whatever industry that you want to be in, you're never gonna get there following someone. You're always gonna be one step behind, you know, and that like really like hit me back then, because there's people that, you know, I mean, you could be inspired by Pinterest photos and like want to recreate someone else's photo, but you're like those kind of people, it's great. Like that's amazing that you can, you know, be creative in that way. But if you want to truly be like someone who's a leader in the industry, you got to really think outside the box and go against social norms, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Like you have to be the person that took the original photo. You can't just be the person who's trying to copy their photos if you really want to make waves. Yeah, that's...
And easier said than done, too.
It is, yeah.
So it's... Yeah.
Yeah, it's really hard to separate sometimes, I think, like taking inspiration versus like straight up copying, even if it's like on accident, you know?
Yeah. It happens all the time. I mean, that's why I always encourage people, like, think outside Pinterest, because everyone looks to Pinterest. Like, when I gain inspiration, it's from everyday objects, it's from everyday people, it's from films, it's from magazines, it's from, you know, sometimes music album covers are like my inspiration. And then I'll just like look around in daily life and drive around aimlessly until I find like something that really inspires me. So I encourage people to do the same.
Yeah, for sure. That's really cool. Well, you have a busy day, so we can just go ahead and wrap up. But before we say goodbye, I wanted to ask you, do you have any resources or like books or podcasts or anything that you like to suggest that have been important to you?
Hold on. I'm trying to, okay, so there's a book. I feel like a lot of people have read this, but it's the You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero, or Sincero.
I love that.
That's helped me a lot with, because, you know, imposter syndrome is very real.
Yes,
and
it is.
It's helped me kind of, because I lacked a lot of confidence when I was starting in the space. So confidence in my own work. More so. So I really encourage everyone to read that, or even if you don't have time to read, listen to the audiobook. And then in terms of podcasts, you know, we both love The Skinny Confidential.
We do.
I'm obsessed with her. I've learned so much about business from her, but not in like the sense where, you know, some business podcasts make you feel not productive or, you know, make you feel bad about yourself.
Yeah.
Kind of. So like she's very inspirational and I love her. Also, I love What We Said podcast too by JC and Chelsea. I don't know if you've listened to that podcast before.
I haven't listened to them.
I think you would love it because they have a very like girls' night sleepover vibes, very casual. And it's great just to like, you know, either wind down at the end of the day and just listen while you know, work on your computer or something.
Right.
Or do a craft. But that's one of my favorite podcasts too.
Okay, I will definitely have to listen to them, and I'll link all of those. I do a blog post for every episode, so I'll link those in the blog post. And then tell us where we can find you.
So you can find me on Instagram, and I'm on TikTok, or at least trying. So my handles for both are at wear, so wear.is.sam, so SAM. And you could find me also, my blog is www.whereissam.com.
Awesome. All right, guys, make sure that you go check her out. Follow her. Sam makes the most incredible stuff. So I want all of y'all to follow her and see what a true creative she is.
Oh, thank you.
You're so welcome.
That literally made my day. Oh my gosh, I'm ready for a good day now.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. All right. Well, guys, make sure that you follow the podcast at I've Been Thinking Pod, and check out that blog post with all of the resources, and I'll link Sam's stuff there too, I'veBeenThinkingPod.com. Yeah, thank you all for listening, and again, thank you, Sam, for coming on and talking. I love this. We'll have to do it again sometime.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. All right, guys, thanks for listening. I love you, and bye.
Hello, you sentient ball of stardust. My name is Casey Davis. I'm a therapist, and I'm an author of the book How to Keep House While Drowning, where I talk about ways to make it a little bit easier to take care of yourself when you're overwhelmed, stressed, have mental health issues, physical health issues, or maybe you're just in a hard season of life. Maybe you're looking for a place that you can come and listen to some practical advice. This is a podcast for all of the self-help rejects. We're going to talk about skills for survival and self-kindness. And I'm going to leave the pop psychology at the door. I promise not to tell you to meditate or to journal. We're just going to give you some really insightful conversations with hopefully some practical advice. So I don't believe you need to pick yourself up by the bootstraps. I don't want you to just try harder, and I don't believe that laziness exists. So join me over on Struggle Care, where we can find compassionate solutions that help us function a little bit better.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.